Hello everyone, let's start our today's discussion. I hope you all remember that in our previous class we started our discussion on first section of our SBL course and the most important section, and that is in relation to leadership and culture. In previous class we had very good detailed discussion in relation to the leadership, that who is a leader, what are the characteristics expected from him. And then we created a difference between leadership at different levels of organization and the strategic leadership, which is leadership skill at the board level. We had discussion about the characteristics of great leader. We had discussion about transactional leaders and transformational leaders. And we discussed one more important concept relating to entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, where we use the organizational's internal resources for growth, innovation. We encourage our employees to bring up with the new ideas and work on them. Now, in the leadership section, we will be moving forward and we will be starting discussion about one more important concept, and that is in relation to culture. Because culture is an important part of organization's activity and plays a great role in its success. And leaders have a great impact on the organizational culture. So I would say that culture impacts the success of the organization, and this culture is impacted by the leaders. So we will be talking about organizational culture in our class. Again, important discussion from exam perspective also, because in culture we'll be discussing one important model named as cultural web, which is also an important part of our examination outline. Again, one quick reminder, please don't spend time in learning these notes. You just need to listen to our lectures, understand the concepts, listen to our practical examples. Just read the notes 2 3 times so that when you are in your actual examination, you can relate it with the case scenario. At SBL level, there will be no requirement which is rote learning. It is all about understanding the concept and applying to that 100 marks case study. As we discussed in the previous class, that when you study the characteristics of a good leader, so examiner won't ask you to write down the characteristics of a leader. What he will be doing is that he will be presenting you a 100 mark scenario, presenting the characteristics of a leader in that scenario, and you would be required to discuss that whether he's a great leader or whether he's lacking in certain characteristics. Okay, so now let's move forward. Let's talk about culture. Now, when I talk about this thing, culture, what is a culture? I would say it is the acceptable behavior, or in very easy word, this is how we do things. Like this is our norm, this is our culture. Or I would say unquestioned behavior, anything on which people don't raise any question. Like if I just give you a very simple example, when we wear a shirt, we wear a pant with it. Okay, we wear a suiting shoes with it. If someone is wearing a shirt and below that shirt he's wearing shorts, and someone see him in at airport, that okay, he's wearing a shirt, he's wearing a coat, and in bottom he's wearing shorts, so people will say what he's doing. Is there any book which says that with shirt and coat you have to wear a pant, not shorts? But this is the acceptable behavior. This is how we do things, the acceptable thing. Just like the culture in our normal life, there are certain cultures of the organization also. Like, okay, organizations operate in this way. This organization has this culture. So that culture can be apparent in their marketing. That culture can be apparent in their customer dealing. So, what is culture? The shared values, shared, not individual, shared, what we all consider it as acceptable. Shared values, shared beliefs, shared norms. So, obviously, a good culture has a great contribution in the organization's success. So there are cultures of country, there are cultures of people within an area, and there are cultures of the organization, that how organization work in a way. And this culture is not developed overnight. It's developed over time. Over a couple of years it is developed. And then that culture impacts our decision making process. Okay.
So whenever in the examination, if you're asked to change the culture, for example, you are hired as a consultant in the examination, and they're asking you to, and this is once again one of the favorite part of the examiner. And if you're asked to change the culture, never use the term revolution. Never use the term revolution when you are bringing a change in culture. Revolution, you can say when it's about changing the law, when it's about changing the policy. That can be, just eliminate and write it down. But when it's about the culture, always use the term evolutionary process, slow and gradual. And the strength of the culture, it depends on the age of the organization. That's why whenever you have the examination scenario or the pre-scene, they always talk about the story of the organization, that this organization was founded 100 years back, this organization was founded 200 years back, or this organization was founded a month back. Okay. And then now you see the difference. Okay, difference of the culture is just 1 month old. The culture is weak, you can change the norms. Okay, but if the organization is 100 years old, the values, the beliefs, okay, the inheritance stuff, the organization structure, everything you see is very, very strong. And now changing that particular paradigm and mentality is sometimes impossible. Okay, or otherwise I said evolutionary process, slowly, slowly, slowly. Sir,
So, culture, this is how we do things. Unquestioned. Like someone say that, sir, how do you do this? Why you do this? So, okay, there are some things for which I don't have any answer. Because, okay, this is how I have been doing. This is my acceptable behavior. This is something on which we don't raise any question. So, obviously, when you work, normally we work with our subconscious mind. Like we don't think a lot. Some things are, we are just doing. So obviously that what we are just doing, that is influenced by our culture and within the organization also. Like for example, at Mirchawala, we have a culture that we are teaching a course, we teach complete course, we provide notes, we do a lot of past papers, each and everything and a lot. Like there are some friends which say that why are you spending so many hours? Like let's skip some past paper. I would say that if I would do this, I would not be satisfied internally. Like that is our organizational culture. Or maybe there are some organizations which have a culture of great customer service. So they cannot just ignore the customer need. There are some organizations which have a culture of innovation. So they will always look for new technology and new thing. There are some.
this how they are trained, or this how they are born actually. Just like a family culture. Just like a family culture. From great grandfather to grandfather to father to you, and the elder sibling and all that. Why are you doing this? This what I have seen. This what I have seen. This what I've observed. That's it. So no logic. Sometimes we have no logic whatever we're doing. Okay, sir.
Like, I remember one time there was a case study, yes, sir, referred that in the examination, always you are told about the history of the organization. That, okay, organization was founded by two guys and they saw a gap in the market. They started the organization as an entrepreneurial structure and they developed the team, and this is how the organization was going on. So now just look at the culture of the organization. The culture is to follow the founders, consider them as the success story. Okay, just follow them, evolving from an entrepreneurial structure. So maybe that organization, when that organization guys will look at someone in a big multinational where there are a lot of departments, a lot of structure, so maybe they both will be working in a different way. Like for example, if you look at a government bureaucracy, government organization, so that has a very different way of doing things, a very different culture as compared to a modern organization or a young organization, which is very fast, very rapid, okay, very instant, very quick, because that is their way of doing business. So what is organization culture? It refers to shared values, beliefs, norms and practices that shape how people behave within an organization. It is often described as the way we do things around here. Now, as sir said, culture is not revolutionary, rather it is evolutionary, evolves over the time. Culture is developed over the time, often unconsciously. It influences decision making, communication, attitude to the risk. It affects how employees interact with one another, how they interact with external stakeholder. See, we see organizations who have a strong culture of good customer service. So they put that ahead of everything, ahead of profits also. Like they are always interested in good customer satisfaction, even though it compromises some profit of the organization. But we have seen organizations which are very much into the profits, very much concerned about the cost. So maybe both organizations have a different culture. Let me give you an example. Same company, Emirates Airline, runs two wings of it, Emirates and Fly Dubai. When you talk to the staff of Emirates, you can see that their culture prioritize customer satisfaction, customer support. But when you talk with the staff of Fly Dubai, you will see that they are very much into the cost, asking money for everything. Okay, 1 kg extra, pay this. You want this, pay this. But when you look at Emirates, you see a different culture. Now, there is no good or bad culture. Those cultures support their organizational objectives. See, Emirates airline ticket is 1.5 times expensive than a Fly Dubai ticket. It's expensive because it is offering that luxury. It's that full value airline which offer you the complete service. But when you look at Fly Dubai, it's a budget airline. It has to be sensitive on its cost. So that strategic objective impacting its culture, and then that culture you see in the customer dealing. Like for example, whenever my family is going traveling somewhere, and if they have booked a flight of Fly Dubai, so I always say that please weight your bag 10 times because don't expect any tolerance from them. They won't tolerate one extra because their culture is very much into the cost. They will not permit because that culture supports that objective. So now one very important thing, there is no good or bad culture. There is a word called as dysfunctional culture, that your culture is not supporting your objectives. Like, okay, if Fly Dubai will adopt the culture of Emirates, it will go in losses. How will you provide that much customer support and that much customer accommodation in low price ticket? Okay. So culture, how we do things, the acceptable behavior, it develops over the time. And obviously, culture impacts the way we are doing the business. If the strategy is the engine, if the strategy is the engine, culture is the oil. It either enables smooth functioning or causes the friction. For example, you are following cost leader strategy. You are following a cost leader strategy, whereas your culture is about luxury. You can never be a cost leader. Or you are following a strategy of high customer satisfaction and your culture is of cost leadership. So you won't be successful. So look at the vision. You form your strategy that, okay, I have to achieve this vision. I have to become a leading airline. So what strategy I will follow? A luxury airline or a cost leader airline? What strategy I will follow? Then within that strategy, you first draft your culture, the way people are doing things. If the culture is not supporting the strategy, that will create hurdle in that strategy.
So let me give you a practical example. One of the organizations was here in Dallas, and they were in serious liquidity problems and all that. So what they did, they have to move out they have to move out to new location, downsize and all these things. But like this was a strategy, downsizing strategy, saving strategy, cost leadership, whatever. But the culture and the attitude of the people, especially the leaders and all that, they were so luxury, so spending, like, draining the organization resource. I remember when they were, changing their office location, when they were in serious problems. So they had the boxes they had, which they had to move. So there were 6 people. What they did, they called Lamborghini, 6 Lamborghini, okay, and the 6 directors. And this how they moved. Ultimately, bankrupt. This is what the sir said. If strategy is the engine, culture is the oil. Either it's gonna lubricate or it will create the friction. because their mentality, their paradigm was out of the order. Okay. And the organization requirement and the environment requirement and the strategy requirement was totally different. So I remember 6 Lamborghini for each box, and then they were driving bankrupt.
So,
Sir.
culture, how we do things, unquestioned behavior, acceptable behavior, and in the organization success, culture is really important because you need to ensure this is my vision, this is the strategy, and this culture has to support that strategy. Okay. Now we look at different type of cultures in the organizations, different ways of doing work. Okay. So different possible culture types which you can see in an organization. Okay. Now these culture types are from the perspective of managing people. We have culture of power culture, what we call as entrepreneurial structure. Power culture, the power is centralized. The boss culture. Normally we see it in owner managed organization, the power culture. Too much dominated by single owner. No one can question him. Just follow what he's saying. Power culture. Power is concentrated in the hands of the boss. Normally, I would say owner managed or entrepreneurial or simple structures where the owner is leading the organization and they just say, okay, do this. Sir, my opinion, get out. Do this. Either my way or the highway. That's the power culture in those organizations. But this culture is very good. This culture is not bad. This culture is very good for a small organization. Because for a small organization, you can't create a lot of roles. You need clear direction. Even in times of crisis, this culture is very good. Because in crisis, we can't take ideas of a lot of people. In crisis, we need power culture, one person to drive the car. Okay, so power culture, but it's not always successful. When the organization grows a lot, you need departments, you need proper roles. So then there is a concept named as role culture. Now, in role culture, there is no too much influence of the owner. Rather, there are departmental managers, clear and defined roles, proper hierarchy, proper structure, and the organization follows that role structure, what we call as a bureaucracy, what you see in the government. Okay. Secretary, minister, additional secretary, chief minister, this person, this is his role, this is not my role. Go to him, ask him. Role culture. A traditional structure in which jobs are arranged by function, seniority, and each employee has a distinct, identifiable role and specification. See, these are different types of culture. If a person of power culture sees a role culture, he will get annoyed that, okay, you are the person, why don't you take this decision? But in role culture, sir, it's not my authority. It's not my area. This happens when we go to the police station. Sir, I want to file a complaint. Sorry, this is not my area. Go to that police station. And then we say, you are the guy wearing the uniform. Why are you not recording the complaint? Sir, it's not my area. Because it's the role culture, defined areas, defined roles, defined authority. And now, sir, role culture, is it a bad culture? No, it's a great culture for static organizations, for static environment, or for where the operations are very much spreaded. So you need proper hierarchy. You can't work in power culture at that time. Then there is one more culture. That is what we call as task culture. Too much result oriented culture in which we make teams. We make teams and we give targets to those teams. Okay, task based culture. Emphasis is on getting the job done. Emphasis is on getting that job done. Okay, we create a team, we give them a target, we give them a task. And then there is person culture. What is person culture? Which I would say a personalized situation. Like, for example, you look these personal cultures in hospitals. You look at the person culture in hospitals where doctors are the persons who are being valued, not the owner of the hospital, not the hierarchy, not the target, but the persons are being followed. Or, for example, if I talk about a situation that in an educational institution, we follow the teachers. Because person culture is a situation when the individuals within the organizations are valued and they are allowed to pursue those ambitions. Because obviously, in a teaching organization, like for example, in Mirchawala of Accountancy, you are not interested about who the owner of Mirchawala is. You are interested that who is teaching your course and how he is teaching. Like for example, if you are standing and owner of Mirchawala comes, maybe you don't care. But when your teacher comes, you stand with respect. Sir, 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 sir. Similarly, at the hospital, when we see the doctor who is treating us, for us, he is more valuable than the owner of the hospital, or maybe who is even his senior. So the employee follows a personal ambition in the context of the organization and interacts with the organization as little as possible, because in person culture, it is about the persons or the individuals within the organization being valuable.
So sometimes, in one organization, you find more than one culture. Like in the board of directors, you see the power culture. Because sometimes it's just the chairman or it's just the CEO, maybe one of the dominant personality. He's the guy. So in the board of directors, you see the power culture, or maybe the person culture sometimes. In the middle management, the managerial level in all the departments, you see the role culture, the bureaucracy, or maybe at the operational level. In this task culture, which you call the result oriented culture, maybe you find in the project team. So see, in one organization, you're finding more than one culture at different level. At a strategic level, maybe the power culture. At the middle management, maybe the bureaucracy or operational level, same product, same reputation, bureaucracy, task culture, and the project team, something like that. Sir.
Now, so culture, how we do things, our unquestioned behavior, our normal behavior, shared values and belief. So now, when you are looking at the organization culture, some organizations are doing very good in power culture. Some are doing very good in role culture. Some are doing very good in task culture. And some are doing good in person culture, because different organizations have different situation. And as Sir referred, within an organization also you see multiple cultures. Normally at board level we see power culture, because board is that powerful committee that takes the strategic decision. But in the sales department we see task culture, because those are normally team based culture. Okay, now then see, again, there is no need to learn anything. It's about understanding the concept and listening to the practical example, so that when you go for the real examination, you can understand that how the things are going on. So culture, different types of cultures for managing people. Then within organization, we see some more classifications of culture. See, because culture can be looked at from different perspective. So further, culture is also impacted by following variables.
Let
Power
me tell you
is,
one thing.
yeah.
Let me tell you one thing. Organization is an open system. Organization, the company, or whatever, the business is actually an open system. What is open system? That the environment affects your organization. Yes or no? Okay, whether you are Apple company, Facebook, or you are a superstore, mom and pop shop company, Amazon, whatever, whoever you have to look at the environment outside the boundary, because the environment affects your organization. So when the environment is affecting the organization, like the organization product, organization strategy, organization survival, whatever, same the environment is affecting the organization culture also. Okay? Why? Because people are coming from the same society. Who is the CEO of the organization? Mr. X. Mr. X was not born in the organization. Mr. X was born in the same society, maybe the same city, maybe in the same nation. Give you an example. Let's say the CEO, he is from Middle Eastern side and he has never seen election. He has never seen the democracy. And now that background, that mentality CEO coming in my organization is in Western organization. What will happen? It's kind of clash, because the whole organization, the employees and the managers, they are from United States of America. And right from the beginning, they have seen democracy, they have seen the freedom. And they brought the CEO from the country who has always seen the monarch, who has never seen the elections. Do you think he'll talk about democracy in the organization? He'll talk about participation, all that. No, he'll say, okay, it's gonna be one-way communication. I'm the CEO, that's it. Are you getting this? This is further culture is also impacted by other factors. Maybe the external environmental factor, like your background also matters from where you're coming in the organization, whether as a departmental manager, as a CEO, whatever. Sir.
Okay. So, as sir said, these variables, so in these variables, power distant behavior of people, how much power I want to keep with me, and how much I want to delegate. If, for example, your leader or your founder or your CEO is someone who wants to keep whole power with him, so in the entire organization, you will see that culture of lack of delegation. Because when he is not willing to delegate to other people, what example he is setting, what inspiration he is setting, and then what culture he is forming. So, power distant behavior of the people, that whether they want to keep power with them or they want to delegate the power. Then individualism or collectivism, whether the approach is to work for your own goals, own objectives, or whether our approach is to go for teamwork, individualism or collectivism. See, as Sir said, your organization culture is impacted by the society because the people are coming from that society. So, in that society, people encourage collectivism behavior, a team working behavior. So, obviously, that will be shown in your culture also. Like I give you an example. If you meet these Indonesian people or Malaysian people or Thai people, you find them very welcoming and very polite because this is their culture. So if just think is if there is any organization which they are running, you will see those cultural values in the organization. So whether the behavior is power distant, keeping power with you or delegating it, individualism or collectivism, uncertainty avoidance, risk taking ability. How much I avoid uncertainty? How much I avoid uncertainty? Avoid means to stay away. Or how much uncertainty I accept. Whether people are long term oriented or short term oriented. Whether we are masculine values or feminine values. Masculine values, bold, risk taking, selfish, thinking for material wealth, not
Maybe
relationship.
assertive
Assertive.
behavior, like in United States of America, right from the beginning, from the childhood, you will see the whole society very assertive. Whatever is in their heart, is in their mind, is on their tongue. And like when they say no, they say no. Simple. Okay. They don't feel it, obliged or something, or they feel in debt to explain the reasons. Are you willing to take the class? Say, no. Are you coming for the ride? No. Okay. It means they are very assertive, unlike Asians or that part of the world. Okay. Now just think. In the society, if you're born, if you're trained this way that you're assertive, and now you're part of the organization, what kind of culture you're bringing? Very straightforward talk in the organization. When you'll be writing an email talking about the salary increment, you will be talking very straightforward. That's kind of masculine values. One of the masculine values is assertiveness. Feminine values, maybe politeness, right?
Okay. So see, the organization culture, their way of doing things, their acceptable behavior, their unquestioned behavior, that culture will either fuel up the strategy, make it smooth, or create the hurdles. Okay. So now, different type of cultures of dealing with people. Power, role, task oriented, person culture. Then variables which impact the culture because the society is impacting whether people want to keep power with themselves or delegate, whether they are individualist or collectivist, whether they want to accept uncertainty or not, whether we want to be that long term guy or short term focused, masculinity, assertiveness, or feminine values. Now just wait a minute and think. These variables these variables are ultimately becoming part of your culture. What is culture? Our way of doing things, our unquestioned behavior. And then that culture will be impacting our strategy. And that strategy will be impacting our vision and the objectives. Okay? So, this culture is very much important for the organization's success. And now, on the culture, very important influence is of the leader. Because leader is that role model, that person who can make the key policies, take the key decisions, set the direction of the organization. So the leader leads the culture, but that is not overnight. It takes time, it takes period of time to change the culture or lead the culture. Now, within the culture, there is this important concept named as cultural web. Very important. See, basically, cultural web tells us those six variables. Listen to me. Cultural web tells us those six variables which impact the organization culture. These six variables are very important. If you want to understand the culture, look at these six variables. There must be something bad or good in these six variables. There must be something bad or good in these six variables which has created that culture. Which has created that culture. So, in order to study the culture of organization, look at those six variables. Or even if you want to change the culture, even if you want to change the culture, you have to work hard on these six variables, because then over the period of time, this culture will change. So, cultural web, two important use of this model. Cultural web. If you want to analyze the culture, if you want to look at the reasons that why are we doing things like this? Why are we doing things like this? So you want to analyze the reason, you want to interpret it. Look at these six variables, there must be something good or bad in it. You want to change the culture, again, work on these six variables. Work on these six variables. Let me give you an example. If you see a child who is disciplined, if you see a child who is disciplined, he wakes up early in the morning. He's very much scheduled, following a timetable, very much disciplined. If you look that child, just listen to me, look at that child. Now think that how he do this. Maybe it is his culture. There must be six variables which must be impacting it. Like normally, when we see the childrens of those people whose parents are in army, we see the children of those people whose parents are in army. So we see those children as very disciplined. Why? Because the routine and rituals they see in their home, the stories they listen from their parents, that form that individual's culture. Wait a minute. Look at another child. Scattered, risk taker, uncertain, no discipline. We said, what do you do? So we got to know that his father is like some businessman running some simple business, not very much disciplined. So what routine and ritual he's seeing? That okay, his father don't, his family don't wakes up early in the morning. They wakes up like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. Whenever they get wake up, they say, okay, let's go to the shop. They open the shop, the casual ways of doing business, no formal dressing. So this is what they are seeing. No budget in the home. Okay, today the profits were high at the shop. So parents are happy, spending a lot. Today sale was low, so everything uncertain. But when you look at a family where the parents are doing job, so you see a discipline, they work in a budget, they have timings to follow, very much structured. See, as we see this culture of human beings, individuals, same way there is a culture of organization. Let me give you an example. When you look at Mirchawala, what you see, only thing important for us, the most important thing is teaching quality. The most important thing for us is teaching quality. I always say, maybe you can have some concern from us for like customer support or something, but you will never have a quality from us on teaching. Why? Because how Mirchawala was formed, it was formed by teachers. So that stories, that routine and rituals, that whenever a new employee comes into the organization, what he listens. They are great teachers, high teaching qualities, positions, the impact, so many students. So those routines, rituals, stories, those impact our culture formation. Those impact our.
That's why Sir Owais is repeating so many times. Example and then the definition and all that. It's because of the paradigm. It's because of the mentality, it's the long-term culture, sir.
So as such, refer this thing mentality. So this brain, what is this brain? It acts in a certain way without questioning itself. What we call as our subconscious mind. It acts in a certain way. How that is designed? It is designed due to these six variables which we are looking. And not that this is not a brain of a human, it is a brain of an organization. Like, okay, the organization is acting in this way without thinking, without questioning itself, because it is their culture. How it formed due to these six variables, what stories people tell to each other within the we will explain them in detail also. What stories people tell to each other, new employees telling old employees stories, routine and rituals, how we do things. Like, for example, do we respect female working in the organization? Do we have flexible working hours for them? Do our routine and rituals show respect to diversity? Our ways of are we doing overtime? Do we respect rights of people? Routine and rituals, our stories, symbols, our logos, our tagline, our symbols, how we demonstrate the things, like even the architecture of the organization. Is it an open office? Or it's like big rooms with locked doors? So those are the symbols we are showing. These, like, just think about it. You are a new employee, first day in the office, what you see? An open office, all people sitting together, and a very welcoming culture. That will impact your way of thinking. The organization culture formed your culture, how you will do work here. But you walked inside the organization, you see a lot of locked rooms. Knock, stand, take permission, take appointment. So then that appears in the culture also. And then that will impact the way we will deal with our customers. Okay. How the power is distributed. Is the power delegated or not? How the power is distributed. What is the structure of the organization? Is it that bureaucracy or what? What is the structure? How the control system operates. Are the people operated through theory X system? Theory X, carrot and stick, reward, punish. Or is it theory Y structure, where we control people by sharing vision, by motivating them, by giving them the authority? A very beautiful model and a very important model for your organization. A useful tool for analyzing the culture of an organization is this cultural web. This involves examining different aspects of the organization and considering what these say about the culture and its values. Okay, so whatever culture you see in the organization, it is impacted by these six variables, not overnight, over the period of time. And if you want to change the culture, you have to work on these six variables. Now, when you will be in the examination, he will tell you all about this. That, okay, he was the founder. These are the success stories. This is how they do work. This is how they control people, by giving them bonuses, by punishing them, or sharing the vision, motivating them, giving authority, the structure of the organization. Is it power structure, dictatorship, or it's democracy? He will tell you all about that. And then you will form an opinion that, okay, these variables have formed the organization culture this way. And maybe then, as a consultant, he asks you that, okay, you have to change the culture, define a strategy to change the culture. So you will be commenting on these six variables. Okay, so let's talk on these. And then these six variables form the culture, or what we call as the paradigm, our subconscious mind, our thought process. This is how we will be doing the things. Okay. So, what is the paradigm? The paradigm is a set of assumptions and collective experience of the organization. It will determine how the organization reacts to the events, therefore, shape and strategic decision. The paradigm is the result of all other aspects of the cultural web. Basically, these six variables are forming this paradigm, this culture, this
Paradigm simply means the mentality. Paradigm simply means the mentality. You have seen the egg, the egg. there is a chicken baby inside the egg. What is the mentality of that chick? That the whole planet is the egg. Because wherever the chick is, just, and then the egg is broken, and you say, oh my God, that's a big word. That's called the paradigm shift. You normally see this term, paradigm shift. Paradigm shift means when you enter in something, out of the world thing. That's called the paradigm shift. Your mentality is suddenly, challenged. Oh my God, this was my mentality. For example, you live in XYZ country. You never went out. You just in that country have seen people, all this. But once you go to a different, developed nation, so that's called the paradigm shift, kind of change in mentality. So paradigm, mentality, simple. Sir.
So when we talk about this culture, this mentality, this paradigm, so it is impacting by these six variables. Obviously, we are talking about the organization. So in the organization, there are routine and rituals, how we do things normally, regularly, how we see people, whether we are always on time, the routine and ritual. Let me give you a very interesting practical example which I experienced myself. I remember when I was done with my ECC and I was doing my training period. So I was in a big company, like it was a multinational company. But in that company, there was a problem that people don't come on time. Like, okay, for example, the time is 9. So maybe people come till 10:30, 11. People used to come late. And they used to go late also. That was the culture there. The HR had done a lot of efforts to bring people on time, but that was not simply getting implemented. So that was the culture, and that was a problem they were dealing with. That okay, somehow bring people on time. But then later on, that company made investment in another company. It acquired shares of another company, and being a parent company, we visited that company. So what we saw here was that when we reached at 9 a.m. there, everyone was in the office. Everyone. Okay. Like there was no one coming late. If we used to come at 10 a.m., the office was full. No one coming at 10. So we asked people that how come? How come everyone comes on time? So what he told me, listen to me, he said that the basic point is that the chairman of the company comes at 8:50 a.m. daily. He comes at 8:50 a.m. Okay. At 9 a.m., the attendance register is picked up from the reception and it is sent to the chairman room. Now, if someone will come late, he will have to go to the chairman room and put his attendance. Just look at the routine and ritual he set. The chairman coming at 8:50 a.m. How come any employee will come late? And I said that if someone comes late, is there any punishment? He said no. The chairman don't say you anything. You just go and put the attendance. He just see and he continue doing his own work. But obviously, the routine and ritual which a leader is setting on regular basis, that impacts the culture. Even a person from a bad culture organization coming to their organization will change himself because that is the routine and ritual going there. The things that are done on regular basis reflect the underlying belief of the organization. If you want to encourage the empowerment culture, then okay, the board of directors must come ahead, have regular meetings with the staff, delegate the authority, make it your routine, make it your ritual. Then the stories we tell to our people. Like, for example, for stories, I would say that when a new employee comes to the organization, what old people tell to them. That, okay, just follow the instruction, otherwise you will be punished. Don't say this, don't do this. The stories. So that has an important role in your culture. So you have to change the success stories if you want to change the culture.
Same in the family. The first child tells a story to the newborn, and then the second child tells a story to the upcoming child. Okay, and this how the family culture is born. The stories. Yeah.
So stories
One,
that people tell about. Yes, sir.
one more thing. One more thing. Give you a practical example. In some organization, especially like airlines or huge big buildings, there is no 13 number. 1, 3, 13. Like, for example, in airline, you see 11 row number 9, 10, 11, 12, and there is no 13. And then after 12, it's just 14. I have seen some buildings, huge buildings, when you go in the lift and you see 9, 10, 11, all the floors. And then after 12, the next floor is actually 13th floor, but they name it 14 Because in some culture, in some myth, and some beliefs, 13 is kind of unlucky number, or maybe it's a very tough number. They think like if we put 13 number, it's gonna crash, or the building may go down, or something like that. These are, the myth and stories coming up, developing the culture, and that's what you see in the organization. Maybe like, there is, we'll say, we'll have 11th class, 12th class, and then 14th class. That's it. If we have this kind of mentality. Also, if you have heard about very famous Feng Shui is a belief, okay, that we should have like Singapore. The whole Singapore is developed and based, and it's highly developed country. If you ask people, look at the downtown, all that, they say like it's all because of the Feng Shui, because we have like, we put this kind of stuff like plants and water and some kind of stone or something like that in the organization. Every business they keep it like this. So this is their mentality and their belief, the Chinese belief, sir.
So, stories that people tell about the organization, what people in the organization admire or dislike. Typically, these might relate to a former boss or other key employees or big event in the life of the organization. Symbols, what we reflect. Okay, obviously, the symbols that has a very key impact in the culture formation because that what people see. Okay, and when what people see, new people coming in the organization, so that all gel up in the process. Symbols are the objects, events, acts, or people that may convey some meaning above their functional purpose. Example, a company car may symbolize the status of the manager. So what do you mean by cultural value? These are the key influences which are impacting the formation of the culture. And if you want to change the culture, you will have to work on these key influences. You have
Exam point. Exam point. I remember one of the case studies in the examination, not in SBL. Before SBL, we used to have P1 and P3. The name was different. There was a case study of the product was electrical product, and the company was electrical company. You know what's the name of the company? Frigate Limited. Frigate Limited is an electric company, something like that. Frigate is a warship, is the name of the warship. So as a student, you'll have to analyze the culture using this model, cultural web. So by looking at the first term, what is coming in your mind? That maybe the guy, the owner, the founder, is from Navy background. Because why did he mention this thing? Frigate Limited. Frigate is the name of the warship. Why are you doing this warship? Okay, now one more thing. See, practical example of this class. You are you are looking at the screen right now. You see there are two teachers. You're looking at me, and what do you see in the background? You see Harley Davidson here. You see Harley Davidson here, Genuine Motors Oil. You see Harley Davidson here. You see Harley Davidson here. You see this lighter of Harley Davidson. And you see this Harley Davidson here. And I have like hundreds of items, my coffee cup, so many items of. So in just one picture, you can see, okay, some kind of motorcycle person. He must have a motorcycle in the garage and he's a rider and all that. Okay, by looking at the symbols, by looking at the name, maybe we can change the name of Mirchawala Hub of Accountancy to Fast and Furious Accountancy or something like a rider accountancy or brotherhood accountancy, something like that. Maybe in future you'll see the change in name of the organization. These are the things you'll have to pick in the examination. Okay, sir.
And ultimately, these small things have a key role in the culture. Like, for example, these things give us our young look that okay, we are young and it's not that traditional teaching organization like dry teaching organization. So these factors ultimately form the culture and they ultimately contribute to the success because to whom we are teaching. We are not teaching to those old guys training sessions. We are teaching to young people. So maybe these factors contribute to the success, and that culture is fueling up the success of the organization. Similarly, the power structure that whether powers are kept with the owner or they are delegated. Like, okay, for everything they have to go for the approval. So this means that the powers are not delegated. Approval, approval, approval. Or maybe there is someone who can take the decisions. Okay. So power structure relates to which person or the group hold the power. Power means ability to persuade, induce, coerce others into doing certain things. It may be held closely by the senior management or distributed in a more democratic way. So these are the six variables which ultimately form that web, that paradigm, or the culture of the organization. The organizational structure reflect the power structure. If the organization is structured in traditional hierarchy, that manager, senior manager, and all, or whether it's a flat organization with a more democratic structure, okay, suggests that power is held by people at the top of the hierarchy. More informal, flatter structure may reflect a more democratic structure. See, basically, when you enter into the organization, you are getting impacted by the culture. And when you are impacting by the culture, you see that what variables are impacting the culture. Whether power is delegated or not, whether it's a very formal structure or whether it's an easy structure, a flatter structure, more delegation of power, how the people are controlled, how their performance is controlled, either through giving reward or giving them the authority and the ownership of the task.
Or what kind of behavior is rewarded or what kind of behavior is punished. For example, a business community family, okay? Every night you sit on the dining table, your dad is sitting here and their four sons here, okay, and they talk about their four shops, and now the dad is asking about how was the sale today, and one of the sons said, hey, today I sold that old inventory stuff and all that, and I misguided the customer. I told lie. And the dad, what he said, oh great, what a great guy, he made profit, all that. It means he is rewarding the behavior. Which behavior? Bring money, no matter you tell lie. Who cares? He is rewarding and he is making this example and he's explaining to other children also, look at this guy. He's making profit. I don't care you tell the truth, you do ethical work or whatever. Same in the organization. Okay? Whom you are rewarding, what kind of behavior which are punished, what kind of behavior. Let's say in our in let's say we're doing the physical class or even an online class and we take attendance. If somebody is coming late, well, who cares? You're paying the full fee? Good boy. Okay. It means we are practicing and we are explaining to all the students that, okay, you have to pay the fees on time. No matter you come late, you don't come, we don't care. Or the other way around. Okay. Something like that. That's kind of control system.
So control systems are formal and informal ways the staff are monitored. Reward systems, performance metrics, they reflect what is considered as important to the organization. Okay, so if I sum up the today's class, it's very important one because culture. First of all, we introduce the concept of culture, that shared values, beliefs, ways of doing things, the acceptable behavior, which we don't question it. Okay, and culture is the real oil which help us achieve that strategy or which create resistance to the strategy. Different types of cultures we see in the organization, different types of contributing factors. And then when you talk about cultural web, so if you have to analyze the culture, find out the reasons that why something is happening, there may be six things, six contributors, maybe good or bad, which ultimately led to that culture formation. Okay, I hope that you guys are understanding the
Oh,
concepts.
one more example. That P1 and P3 case study, I said frigate limited. Frigate limited. Frigate, I said it's a warship. You know what? The whole case study, there were so many things in that case study. One of the point was in the organization, that guy, that founder, that director, he used to be called as commander in the organization. All the employees, they call him commander. Hey, commander, can I go today? Hey, commander, how to do this? Hey, commander, I have sent you an email. Love to be, said as commander. Just got it? Commander. Like we call you, okay? In the class, you'll have to call me commander. So you will realize, okay, it means they belong to some kind of disciplined background. Now, if I want to change the culture of this organization, change this factor, commander, to be, converted into friend. Don't call me commander, call me friend. See what kind of impact? Change the name of the organization from Frigate Limited to maybe Ice Cream Limited, Lollipop Limited, looking, so soft, so cute. Okay, we are changing the variables to change the culture. Sir,
So I hope that you guys have understood this cultural vibe and the concept of the culture. Obviously, in the next class, we'll be moving forward and looking at further concepts. And if you have any query, always feel free to contact us directly on our WhatsApp number. Okay, thank you.
bye. Thank you.